So guys, I did say that I would show my dogs on video because you might have heard them throughout the videos. Freddy, where are you going? You going to come in here, Freddy? You going to come? Oh, well, Casper's here, so we'll do Casper first, and then I'll go and get Freddy. Casper is 1 year and 3 months old now. Maybe 4 months. Are you 4 months old now, little man? And he is a cockapoo. He is a golden cockapoo. And he's quite a big boy now. You might remember, if you're only my Vainglory viewers, you might remember Casper being small. But Casper has gotten to quite a big boy. Oh, and Freddy's now at the bottom, wanting to get up as well. So Casper is a pretty big boy. And Freddy, he's about 19 weeks old. Also a cockapoo, which, as you can tell... Oh, God, you're so heavy, Casper. Come here, Freddy. Come on. You need a bath, Freddy, because you smell. Ugh. Freddy is about 20 weeks old. And he's also a cockapoo, but you might not be able to see him. But the light is quite bright, so I'm going to put him down. I don't want to keep them in the really bright light. But you smell really bad. Oh, God, he needs a bath. Okay. Go down there, chill. All right, Casper, you can go down. Casper's beautiful, though, isn't he? Look at him. Aren't you a gorgeous boy, Casper? Aren't you a gorgeous boy? Right, down you go. Oh, Freddy, it's not playtime. It's record video time. Right, record video time. Don't go near my wheels, Freddy. I know you're scared of the chair now. Kind of, I backed my chair up just before this video, and I heard a scream, and I think I just caught some of Freddy's fur in the chair, and he wasn't very happy about it. But that's what you get when you lie behind my chair, Freddy. Okay, guys. So the point of this video is going to be going through a deck that I have been playing today that I copied from Blade, who is, I think, top 10 for sure on the leaderboard. He's definitely top 10. I think he could even be top 5. He's got over 10,000 trophies. He's one of the best players on the server. Also a British guy. Really completely free to play. Blade is one of the guys who started very, very long time ago, obviously, but is completely free to play and still maintains a top 10 position on the leaderboard. So he's a really, really good player. And he got this deck from a guy called WW Fyan, who beat him in a tournament. And I've actually been playing it a lot. So there's 3 games that I want to go over. We can have a look at all of my losses and wins today. But essentially, I beat this guy because it was a challenge battle and then I lost. But I was trying to do a Titan. I was trying to get 3 Titans out, I think, because it was my daily. So I had Titans in a really stupid deck. But then I started changing over to this deck, and it went really well, and then I went back to my Avatar deck. But I'm not going to do the Avatar deck, because you've seen enough Avatar on my channel recently. Going to have a look at these 3 replays. First, this is a guy called Cushed Out, who I know is a few places higher on me than the leaderboard, so I got about 17 trophies, which is pretty good. And he was running an average Nod aggro deck, but then he stuck an Inferno in, which is something that you do see quite often. If you don't have the MLRS, it does get unlocked pretty early, so it's one of those ones that a lot of you, if you've been playing since launch, should soon have access to, if not have access to it already. But War Dogs can very easily be replaced by Riflemen, and that's basically a direct replacement in a lot of circumstances. And if you don't have the Hammerhead, you can use the Talon, or you can just put a Pitbull in, a Predator in there, and instead just rely on your Pitbulls, or you could use War Dogs and Missile Troopers, for instance. But the Hammerhead there is there because I like it, and I think it's a really good anti-air unit and have access to it, obviously. So we're going to go through 3 games that I have had over the last couple of days, and we're going to have a look at the replays and talk about the good and the bad things that happened in them. Because all of the games are quite different. They had different challenges that I had to overcome. Most of these games you'll see me do the exact same start, and that is I like to go straight into War Dogs. It is my scouting unit, and it's going to give me some ability to see what the opponent is going. Watch what I actually do with my War Dogs here. You'll notice that I'm not just randomly leaving them on the pad. This is something that you'll probably hear me talk about a lot, if not have already heard me talk about a lot. And essentially what this is that if I'm playing a kind of aggro mid-range deck where first missile is my priority, which in this case I don't know whether I'm going up against tech or not, so it is. Most of the time you're going to see me let the missile charge. If that means letting my opponent off the missile to let it charge, then that is what's going to happen. There is some circumstances where I can't avoid there being a stalled missile, like in this area here where microing is more important, but for the most part I'm going to aim to have a missile that is charging at any given time, especially in the early game where I can avoid it. It's more it's better for me in general to have a missile that is charging. If my opponent is charging that missile, that's absolutely fine. I'm going to pause it very quickly here because, as you can see, I've managed to gain the upper hand just with a set of Shockwave Troopers and Jump Jet Troopers, and now I'm going to launch out my MLRS. The reason I've got the MLRS out is because I'm not really contested on my side of the field, which means I can get it into a point on this map where it's easy to set up. Now, there are 2 points on this map that I think are okay to set up the MLRS, or really a few actually. And they are, I'm going to highlight them on screen. There are 4 tiles, 4 hexagonal tiles just around the center portion of the missile. And if you set the MLRS up in any one of those scenarios, as long as you protect it properly, you'll have good control of the area. The one that is directly to the left of the missile is generally my favorite, but the reason I moved the MLRS onto the missile pad that you see there is because I wanted to have something on that top pad to make sure that I got the first missile. So you see he's not actually trying to contest my bottom pad, and I'm actually going to move on to that bottom left pad. So even though he jumped those flame troopers down, we get the first missile, which is really important for us. And now I'm going to set the MLRS up in that point where I really enjoy just having it heavily protected. This is my favorite place to have the MLRS. It has good spread of the top and the bottom right missile pads, and I can protect it very easily. And you can see what I'm doing here around my MLRS is actually creating a cone of, or rather a protection field of war dogs, which are squad units which are pretty hard to get through. So even if he sends something that's good against my war dogs up to my MLRS, I should be able to use the MLRS to take out that Scorpion tank, which I was able to there. So as you can see,
unit ready.
Ready? 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 What are you doing? Okay, so you may have seen me just disappear there. That's because my dog does have a habit, especially the little one, who's not quite 100% toilet trained yet, of running and doing a poo on the floor somewhere. So I had to go and check, which he hadn't. He was a good boy. So again, I'm showing you the fact that I'm just creating this cone, a very impenetrable cone of war dogs and also shockwave troopers around my MLRS. A lot of the key to victory of the MLRS is that ability to body block, and you can see now that it's got control of the bottom right pad, so he wants to move on to the bottom right pad to contest my bottom left one. He has to go into range of MLRS, and you can see double MLRS is going to be very good at just controlling those pads independently. So we had a really good game there. A lot of it came from some early game control, which gave me the space to get the MLRS out. And then once the MLRS is up and protected properly, it's very difficult to get to it unless you have aircraft, which would have been the one problem I had here. The Banshee, for instance, would have been a real pain in my butt in this particular instance. I would have had to get some pit bulls out, but you will see that in the future. So yeah, the MLRS in general is a really, really solid unit, which I really like, and I think we're going to continue on to the next game now, which was versus this guy. This was an interesting game. I had to adapt pretty heavily. He threw a lot at me in the early game, and we'll talk about it. There wasn't really much to analyze after this portion because a lot of it was just pure defense of my harvester. Already you can see we are straight into Jump Jet Trooper rush on my harvester. Luckily, his Jump Jet Trooper is a little bit lower level than me in terms of my War Dogs. So my War Dogs are actually pretty good defense here versus his Jump Jet Troopers. Otherwise, I probably would have had to do a lot more body blocking. This is one of those cases where I kind of was saved by unit levels a little bit. And you can see here, mostly what I'm doing is trying to force him into an awkward position where my war dogs will be doing the majority of the work versus these Jump Jet Troopers. And every time he moves them and moves them away from my harvester, I'm moving it back just to try and get that Tiberium economy flowing again, whilst my war dogs are doing the majority of the work. Now, I went for a pit bull to try and punish his harvester. I thought he probably wouldn't go 3 Jump Jet Troopers in a row, because that's not really going to net him a big positive Tiberium income. But he didn't go harvester. No, he committed to the full Jump Jet Trooper scenario, and I thought, well, I need to start charging the missile as well. The longer time I give him, the less punishment I can actually put out versus this guy, because obviously my primary goal here is to exploit the fact that I've had a Tiberium income and he hasn't, and the longer the game goes on, the more natural Tiberium income you're going to get anyway. So I wanted to just make sure that I was doing a lot to try and punish, and this is something that you're going to see here. I put the strong arm turret in this position because it was a good natural defense point, and I also then rushed 2 war dogs to positions where it's the first Tiberium field for him. So if he tried to go for a harvester, he'd be very hard pressed to do so, because what I'm doing here primarily is blocking the 2 natural harvesting Tiberium areas that if you want to get a harvester directly onto that point, you'll have to go a little bit further around. It'll give me more time to react. As you can see here, he's gone for another set of jump jet troopers, and that's where I've just said, okay, shockwaves, here we come, just do your job. And shockwaves and Lieutenant Strong on turret is enough for me to get a good foothold here. And again, he still has not gone a harvester. I mean, his Tiberium income is out the window, and this is one of those problems that I talked about in a video the other day, that ability to rush a harvester, it has to have a payoff. You can't do it forever. And the ridiculous number of jump jet troopers that he threw at me just ended up being his downfall. Didn't even really use the MLRS in this particular game, but I did decide to go and set it up just randomly near his harvester. You can see if you get into an aggressive position with the MLRS, it is something that you can do. As you can see here, I just set it up, and I got the Lieutenant Strong Arm turret body blocking for me. I had my War Dogs and also my Shockwaves. So had the game had some kind of relevance past the first 5 seconds, that might have actually been a pretty solid attacking position for my MLRS. Although I wouldn't recommend in most games putting your MLRS into a super heavy attacking position, because it can be more easily exploited and it's harder to block, especially if they've got aircraft. So there we go, that was another interesting game, and we'll go through the last one as well. Again, this was another level discrepancy. This was I think must have been a challenge match for him, because I only got 10 Tiberium, oh sorry, 10 trophy gain from that particular game. However, it was a pretty fun game nonetheless, and it also showed him using some interesting units. So in this game, we had a bit more of a classic start. I just went for my War Dog opener, and again, a lot of what I'll do here is just trying to charge the missile as soon as I physically can. I don't want to move off too hard, and this is something that you'll notice that he probably wants to just stall the missile out 1-for-1. So when he moves onto the pad, I move off the pad. When he moves off the pad, I move onto the pad. And again, it's just keeping that rolling, keeping that missile charging. Don't know why you'd open a Rhino. I guess it's if you're expecting an opening of either Shockwave Troopers or Riflemen, which is a very common opening, especially the Riflemen. So he saw me use those jump jet troopers. He didn't want to commit his Pitbull to a potential harvester rush here. And again, I'm just trying to get that missile charging as much as I can. So he gets out the snipers, which I think is a really, really good idea versus my jump jet troopers. They are particularly weak to snipers when you're trying to micro around the harvester. If you're 2 tiles away from them, it makes a bit of an issue. But watch what I do. Every time the snipers take aim at my unit, I move them just out of that sniper's range to make it difficult for the sniper to convert that into any tangible lead. So I've actually managed to keep those jump jet troopers pretty healthy. And the primary goal for me there was distracting him long enough so that I could get the MLRS out, but also win that first missile pretty easily. And you'll notice that I'm actually going to continuously chase the snipers with the War Dogs, because if they want to stay stationary and take out my jump jet troopers, they're also going to have to face my War Dogs, which are pretty good against them in terms of dealing the damage necessary. All this time is happening while I'm distracting him. Like, look what I'm doing at his harvester. I'm not actually that bothered about getting his harvester, but what I am bothered about doing is getting my MLRS protected online for the second missile. And this is actually what I've done here. I've got the MLRS out protected for this second missile. I've got a second one setting up in the central portion as well. And this is going to give me complete control versus ground vehicle units. And seeing what he's got an APC, and he had a lot of Pitbulls there that I've actually got a setup which is really strong for me. I'm then going to block the middle choke point with my Lieutenant Strong Arm turret, and at this point I just don't think there's anything he can do. Going double harvest is not going to help you get out of this situation. The MLRS comes big versus the APCs there, and even though the Solomon missile or the Solomon charge did quite a lot in terms of clearing work, wasn't enough to stop me getting the missile versus this guy. So those were a couple of games that I had. 2 of them I would say were easy through level disadvantages that he had. The first game especially when they had, so the second game especially when they had the rush of the War Dogs, the level disadvantage between the War Dogs and the jump jet troopers made it a little bit easier for me to defend. That game there was again just me trying to just completely control that missile area, and also just some clever micro with the JJTs versus the snipers. I wouldn't actually say I had many level matchups in that game where it was like this is a level disadvantage happening here. I'd say a lot of it came down to the fact that we just had better strategy in terms of charging that first missile, and the fact that he fell for the distraction around his harvester allowed me to set up really strongly for the second missile too. So those are 3 games on the deck that I really like playing with, and again I mentioned some replacements at the start that you could try. I hope you enjoy it. I'll see you soon.